All right, looks like we're live. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. James and I are here tonight to talk about the ascension process. Hello, James.
Hello, Sharon. How are you?
I'm doing well. Good to see you again. Thank
Good.
you for being here.
Absolutely. The dynamic duo is back.
Right? So watch out. Yeah.
Right.
I'm really happy to have James Valentine here as my guest again, and he's been on the show. I think once or twice, or I don't know. We connected a couple times. I was on your show once, I think,
Yeah.
and we talked. Yeah, we
Yes. Yeah.
connected again then. So anyway, James is the Ascension coach, known as the Ascension coach, and we have a lot in common with our work and how we view the life and things and understanding. So I thought it'd be a good idea, and James agrees that we talk about this thing called Ascension.
And
So thank you.
Ascension.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, and my show is called Ascension Gateway. So here we go. We're going through the gateway tonight.
That's
Well,
it.
always good
That's it.
for sure. Yeah.
Cool.
Hey, Christine, good to see you here.
Yes, Christine. How are you?
All right. So, James, why don't you just go ahead and, if you don't mind, introduce yourself a little bit and let people know a little bit about
All
your
right.
work.
So, for those who are watching this live or maybe later at a later date, I am James, known as the Ascension Coach. I help people connect with higher states of consciousness, align with their higher self, and discover their soul's purpose so that they can have this 3D reality as their playground where they experience love and bliss and abundance and all of those good things. And yeah, I've been on the ascension journey. I rebranded in my business in 2023 from the manifest coach to the ascension coach, just from a personal 40-day experience in the wilderness in Auburn, Kentucky that I had. So that's me, and that's what I do.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. I've been knowing about what we call ascension, I guess, for 20 years now when I started working with my guidance. And I thought that we were there was going to be this big flash and we were all going to disappear and then reappear in these angelic bodies and that kind of thing, you know what I mean? um and 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 there was a lot of information going on around that. So who knows? And I believe timelines have changed from that, and we learn as we go, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So um, I'll just share a little bit about my perspective with Ascension, and then James, I really want to hear yours too. I know we've talked about this, but I want to dive deeper, of course. My perspective is Ascension has to do with bringing in light into our bodies and healing what gets in the way of bringing in light into our physical vehicle. And as we bring in light, we remember who we are, and that is our true selves, and that we are one with Source, one with the all that is, which is the all that is, all of us. And we talked about a little bit about that already. And we are creator expressing. And so as we shift in our humanity is shifting, going through a big detox, a purging. As our bodies purge and we go through a detox and we heal, then humanity does on a collective basis, on a higher basis, a wider range of shifting and what's been hidden, not only in ourselves but also in the collective, comes to the surface. And so as the planet is being bombarded with more light, as we take in more light, it, we can't help but experience what we might call turmoil, dark night of the soul, a lot of that, what we haven't been dealing with in past lives, traumas we haven't taken, we haven't healed, that we carry over from lifetime to lifetime, and that kind of thing, come up to the surface. And so as we heal that and make way for more light, we ascend more and more. And we shift. That's a shift that we go through. Oh, and I feel it. I feel emotion with that for some reason, because I was just thinking about Christ as I was talking. I felt him walk in,
Okay.
as always. Yeah, and he's. I feel like he's here to guide us, and he taught us this when he was here too, in his teachings, how to in the that when we love each other and have compassion and forgiveness with each other and with ourselves, we're able to bring in more light and shift exponentially.
Yeah. Yeah, and from my perspective, and there's so many different ways you can come at this. From my perspective, the first thing that comes to mind, and maybe because I saw something about this today, is the planet, which is this energy of which is this ball of vibrational energy that we call Earth. But I want to emphasize that it's an energy. It's an energy field. It's a ball of energy that we call Earth. And on its own trajectory, on its own shift in elevation and ascension, we are at that moment in history where we are being called to us to transition and us to shift with it. Right? There are going to be those who are going to be along for the ride, who are going to go through what Sharon alluded to as ascension symptoms of headaches, or it could be some kind of physical ailment or some kind of life experience. And really that's the process of detaching you from the idea of who you used to be to your more elevated, higher consciousness self. And that doesn't feel good, because you're now recalibrating to a different energetic frequency. And so it's disruptive, it's chaotic at times, and that is reflected back to you in this 3D reality. But it's something that's a necessary part of going through, so that we can come out on the other side, so that we can be in alignment with the planet. Now, there are going to be those who are going to choose the old Earth. As the Earth is shifting, as they go through their own chaos, they're going to fight it. They're going to wrestle against it. They're going to resist it, which is going to keep them stuck in that experience. But for those who surrender to, look, this is just what's happening. I recognize, whether through downloads or whether through just my energy feeling different, or I'm feeling lighter, the light body that Sharon alluded to, I'm feeling more of that. I'm just going to go with this shift that I'm experiencing. So it's going to be those who ascend are going to be those who go along with the shift and surrender to it. And those who kind of remain in that old Earth are going to be those who are resisting it. And this, for me, is what Jesus meant when he said, two are going to be in the field, one is going to be taken. That for me is what he's talking about, the shift that we're experiencing now. I don't know if it said anything about married people, but that's kind of how it is. Mother may not go with the child, or the father, the husband may not go with the wife. One is going to shift, one may not shift. So that's kind of one of my perspectives of the shift that's taking place, and those who are ascending along with this shift.
Mm-hmm. So when you talk about the shift, do you see it as just disappearing out of this, moving into a higher frequency, right?
Mhm.
And okay, so then someone who isn't, say you have a family member who is resisting shifting into a higher frequency for whatever reason, okay,
Mhm.
um, and then we shift into a higher frequency. How do you see that the person is shifting, has shifted or shifting
Mhm.
compared to the other person? Can they, the way I, okay, can they still see that person, or because I'll share my how I see it
Yeah.
after you share yours.
Well, what immediately came to mind when you said that was the pandemic. That was, for me, that was probably a more profound evidence of what's taking place. We experienced, or we saw, or we knew, or we got a hint of maybe couples who were happily together and everything's going well, and now they're in the same space, and it's like, wait, there's something's not right, and one goes, they end up separating or divorce or whatever. But we saw the same example in the workplace where people made a decision that I don't want to go back to the office anymore. So we were experiencing greater parts of the shift even then. But I think what eventually takes place is as one ascends and one chooses to remain in the old earth, they do lose sight of one another as each go their own separate way. And only for the reason of when you are at a certain frequency, especially if it's a higher frequency, there are certain things that cannot enter into your space. You can be at a frequency where you can never get sick. You can be at a frequency where you can never experience lack. So if there's a couple or a life experience someone is having where they are now at this high vibration, that other person, there's always the maybe some level of awareness, because that's where we go into kind of parallel realities and all that, and also understanding that um, thoughts and memories will always exist in this ether, in the space between things that we move through. But for the most part, there will definitely be a shifting away where it's very likely that there may not be any physical contact so much.
Yeah, yeah, that's how I see it too. In a way that there's also the frequency is so different that it's almost like we're in, people are invisible to each other, where they
Right,
don't hang out together, and it's almost
right,
like the afterlife is invisible to us because they're at a higher frequency,
right.
and they can see us but we can't see them, kind of thing. So the veil lifts,
Yeah.
and I believe that the lower frequent when we are vibrating a lower frequency, the veil is heavier. I know when I went to see 20 something years ago, I was seeing psychics a lot and readers. And this one I used to see every year, she was amazing. She told me, "Do you ever feel like you're invisible, that nobody can see you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sometimes." And she goes, "It's because your frequency is higher than the people around you. And they don't notice you until they're like, oh, I didn't even see you there," kind of thing. So, it might be that kind of thing too,
Like that.
where I'm sure a lot of people might, you too, James, might have noticed that you're just kind of invisible to
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
And so, yeah, we're vibrating at a different frequency. Uh, so, yeah, and the old Earth, I guess, is what you call it. It would just be a different frequency where with Mother Earth, because I understand that Mother Earth is shifting.
Mhm.
She's shifting, taking us up.
Yeah,
So people who do not shift with her won't be able to hold the frequency on this planet anymore. Is that
yeah.
what you get?
Absolutely. I always say what comes to me. I had I had the thought that last, no, 2024, I think it was 2023, Schumann's resonance, which measures the Earth's frequency. I think the standing measurement is like 7.8, something like that. In July of 2023, it was a profound, I don't know if it was drop or height, but it was a profound shift. You could see it in the resonance that it went from its normal baseline to this profound shift. And I was just like, there it goes. It's it's and I think it was the biggest shift that the earth has ever experienced. It bounced back to somewhat the baseline that's the normal baseline, but it was a humongous shift. And so when I think about Earth, when I think about this planet, this energetic bowl called Earth, I'm always mindful that from our point of consciousness, from the point of consciousness that is, labeled James, my Earth is responding to me. Every energetic experience of people, places, and things is responding to my vibration, right? So again, what doesn't match that doesn't show up. But also, because of the new vibration, you're calling in new people, you're calling in new experiences, you're calling in new things. And so, yeah, for those who choose the old way of being, who choose to kind of remain in that what will soon be outdated consciousness or outdated earth experience, they're going to see more of the same of what they're used to, what was based on their frequency. Um, and so I'm not sure if I answered your question. I just kind of go with what comes to me, but yeah, that's how I see it. And you said something so profound. I can't remember what it was. I hope to be able to look back on this, but yeah, this we're going to miss some things, or there may be an awareness from them. And I think about even being in Vegas. I was telling a friend of mine that none of the reasons that I moved to Vegas exist now. And that can
Yeah.
only be because the vibration and the energy, the frequency that I moved to Vegas with is now, you know, it's a lower vibration than where I'm at now. So it's like none of that could remain. I had to release some dear friends. I had to release some dear relationships. But it felt, it was challenging, but it felt like it was the right thing because it no longer matched who I am and who I want to be.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point, James. And I forget to do that too,
Yeah.
is to look back at my life, 30 years ago, 25 years ago, 20 years ago,
Mhm.
and realize that that's not even me
Yeah.
anymore.
No.
That's a totally different person, different frequency. That's an old life.
Right.
And yeah, and so that would be the old earth me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Right.
And uh-huh.
Yeah.
So yeah, um so with people who aren't able to hold the frequency of um of the planet shifting and
Mhm.
humanity shifting, because we have to shift with the planet. She's
Right.
like, I can't wait for you forever. So
Right. Either in
she's
or
like,
either in or you're out.
I've
Right.
been waiting and waiting. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Come on, let's get it
And
together.
that's
But
it.
yeah, yeah.
And
I mean, we're at the end of this age, so we have no choice. Uh, basically, is what I
yeah.
understand. So I was going to say something about that. Okay, so we're shifting,
Hmm.
and I think that's why a lot of people um, who can't hold the frequency are finding that they're mm, getting sick and dying, yeah, or leaving the planet,
Exactly.
leaving their physical body.
Right.
So let me ask you this question:
Hmm.
what about people who are on the other side when it comes to ascension? um, do you, do you feel like they reincarnate so they can try to start over and
I think
or what?
I think it's much more attractive for a soul, and you know what, to some degree, it's more attractive, but it's also the question is it more advantageous for a soul to now want to reincarnate here because Earth was, it's a shifting away from this, but Earth was a place that you come to work out stuff because of the density, because of how challenging it is to be here. But as it's moving to a much lighter, more expanded place of love and bliss and oneness, it's more attractive. But the question becomes for a soul who's trying to work out some things to, expand and evolve as a soul, is it more advantageous? So there may be, less souls choosing this planet, um, or there may be those souls who want to assist in the further ascension. But for those
Yeah.
souls who want to work out, like the way we met was through near death experiences, interviews with near death experiences, and there are certain things that we keep. There are certain people who keep cycling back because they're still working out something, like fear, or like I just one person comes to mind. She came back 6 times to work out fear. Um,
Mm,
but is that, that becomes the question becomes, is that advantageous now if we're moving away from that? So
right.
yeah, I just see it as an attractive place, more attractive place now for those who want to assist in the ascension, those coming, but for those who,
Process.
yeah, for those who want to work out some things, maybe this isn't the most advantageous planet anymore. Who knows?
I see that because I see that too
Yeah,
because I was getting that Earth isn't um, this place anymore to come to work things
yeah,
out, to heal what you haven't healed before, and yeah, work things out. That's a good way to put it because I do believe that
yeah,
this cycle is ending, and so we, if you do reincarnate to work things out, you're gonna have to do it really quickly, and that would be pretty
yeah,
tough.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly,
pretty tough. Yeah, that would be real
exactly,
tough.
right, right.
Yeah. So I mean, it which is pretty exciting when you think about it because I do feel that this is such an amazing time and this is what we're going through now or what we chose to be here for now is
Yeah,
so that we could step off this wheel of karma is what we call it and
yeah,
and be here and we are here to assist ourselves and get through what we needed to get through, work things
right,
out so that we could assist others. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And that's what we're here for. And so that's really cool.
And these conversations, and these conversations are what's adding to that. I think we spoke before we hopped on live about just wanting to fulfill our purpose. And I recognize that every time there's a conversation, every time maybe I post something, you post something, we interview somebody, whatever, we're just further adding to it. We're just further adding to it. So, as I mentioned to you, it's not about likes or the comments or who, my mindset isn't about who gets reached or who doesn't get reached. It's, what, by me hitting send now, I'm continually the expansion of
Yeah.
the planet. But yeah, so the work that we're doing is making it much more difficult for those who maybe want to work out some things on planet Earth. And I don't know if it's the most challenging planet. It still may be, it still may be the one that you would want to go to because there are no others below it. But
Yeah.
it's becoming more and more obsolete in terms of wanting to accomplish that.
Yeah. I've heard that too, that as far as humanity goes, it's a pretty dense or has been a pretty dense planet
Yeah,
for the opposite experience of what we're used to,
yeah,
opposite type experiences for than what we're used to. Yeah.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, I'm okay with likes.
I know that's right. I know
Don't
that's
forget to like this video.
right. Comment, like, and subscribe.
That's right. I'm okay with that. Okay.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. Um, yeah. Also wanted to talk about the symptoms
Yeah.
of ascension, and we may not even recognize them that that's what it is.
Mm.
What I found to be symptoms would be, anxiety. I think is number one for a lot of people. For me, it was
Mm.
anxiety. And I know that when I'm taking on a lot of light, that I get anxious, and that's just my thing. I don't know why. It's just because I'm vibrating at such a high frequency. Something within me makes me feel anxious. Do
Yeah,
you have
and
any comment on that?
that's definitely a common one because there is that presence of something happening and the logical mind, which is where we get anxious, doesn't understand what's happening. And so it's like
Right.
fight or flight situation. But there's so many symptoms, right? Like there's headache. There's you can get the flu. You can feel pain in certain part of your body, whatever. But it's what you alluded to. It's as your light body becomes more prominent, this more denser body, it's a kind of rubbing up against its kind of situation while it is recalibrating to the new light body frequency. And so,
Hmm.
yeah, it shows up as some symptom of anxiety or could be depression for some people, could be a mental, emotional, or physical symptom that shows up in the body. Because even the physical symptoms, regardless of what's, whether it's ascension or whether you just have something going on in your body, that's all related to your mental. That's all related to your emotions. It's just your body expressing maybe what we haven't addressed mentally. So it's going to show up some way somehow as your denser body begins to recalibrate to its the new frequency. From a biological standpoint, there's a mechanism in our body called homeostasis, which which is the baseline for the body. In other words, it's everything you're used to. It's you. So if you start having experiences that are different than what you're used to, the body responds. The body goes into like a acute fight or flight situation because hey, we're used to, say if somebody who's used to low self-worth, that's their baseline. So if they experience an amazing situation where some experience or somebody says you are amazing, that becomes a threat. So when you look at it from an ascension standpoint, if my baseline of my body is just as it is right now, but there's something going on in me as my light body becomes more prominent, that again, that's sending the same signal to the brain going, hey, there's something not right going on, even though everything right is going on. So your body is going to respond with some kind of mental, emotional, or physical a symptom, but it's just the evidence. And really, when I think about physical or even emotional symptoms, it's just a frequency that we
Hmm.
label as this or that. But it's just a frequency that's shifting, and we allow it to move through us, and we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the same thing I tell people with out of body experiences with sleep paralysis,
Hmm.
because we're shifting away from our physical uh,
Yeah.
senses, and the conscious mind is afraid,
Yeah.
is used to being connected with our physical senses,
Right.
because when we go to sleep we shift away from our physical senses,
Right.
and so we're being disconnected from our physical senses because our body's sleeping, our consciousness is leaving
Yeah.
or going off doing whatever we're doing.
Yeah.
And of course we have the silver cord always, but in our conscious mind and our lower mind, ego mind is saying, this is scary. I don't want to do
Yeah.
this. There's gremlins in the room, there's demons in the room, there's ghosts, this is too scary. Somebody's crushing your chest, sitting on your chest or whatever. And yeah, it doesn't understand. So that's perfect.
Yeah.
Totally.
The mind.
The body doesn't
Yeah.
understand it.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
And so it has to
Like,
make it into a thing. It's really
mhm.
just formless energy, but because the mind can't grasp the invisible, it has to make it into a thing. It has to make it, this is where we get our labels from. We got to label something, or the
Yeah.
mind has to label something to appease its insecurity, to appease its feeling of weakness. So yeah, it's just energy. Energy's neither
Yeah.
good nor, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. The ego always has to be in charge, in
yeah,
control,
and control.
and is always in survival mode.
Always in
The lower
survival.
mind.
Right, right.
Hmm. Yeah. So that's a good thing that's trying to protect us all the time. But yeah, we just it has to be in balance. We have to be in balance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's, I
And what
mean,
Christ taught me, awareness is always the key.
awareness is always key. Absolutely. Because awareness is who we are. Awareness is synonymous with consciousness, with the formless, with energy. So you're just returning home because the mind is what takes us from home. It's identifying as this separate self that is just, we know this, just an illusion. So it
Yeah.
wants us to believe in smoke and mirrors when going back to awareness is I'm home. I'm home. I can just observe this or be aware of this without getting lost in what I call the dream.
Hmm.
So yes, mind does its job, and even when we think about it protecting us, right? Like that would I would associate that with the separate self as well, because only the separate self can feel as if it's unsafe. But when we are in
Right.
awareness, when we are in being, there's no fear of being separate or fear of not being safe. That's where your security is. So, but thank God for that, right? Thank God for that experience
Hmm.
that the mind gives us because it's pointing us to where we're supposed to be in the first place. So,
Yes.
yeah, yeah,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And so Yeshua taught me with the anxiety is to work to work, walk through it, which is not easy.
yeah. No, I can't imagine.
Not easy.
I can't
Yeah, it's
imagine.
not easy. And I write about it in my book, the panic attacks and the anxiety and everything like that. And he gave me
Um,
tools and stuff. And but yeah, so that's I would say for anyone who might be having symptoms of anxiety and panic attacks and stuff like that. Panic attacks are what come with how I understand it, unresolved trauma, not knowing what's coming up from memories that are unresolved. Yeah, that kind of thing. Your memories that are coming up are usually that you don't know where to put them, where to put them. I don't know even though you don't remember what it is. It's just something's going on and you
yeah,
don't know
and
where to put them, where to put it. Yeah,
right, right.
yeah. So other symptoms. Yeah, there's lots, isn't there? There's headaches, body aches too, body aches, flu symptoms. I've had flu symptoms. I mean, like where my body just went, I mean, flushed everything out just all of a sudden. And I'm like, whoa, where did that
Yeah,
come from? Yeah. And it was like, okay, now I get it. I was in deep meditation and I got overwhelmed with some energy. Yeah.
yeah. That was me this past Christmas. Just out of nowhere, I'm watching a game and I'm starting to get the flu-like symptoms. And I shut it down at 3 p.m. But this is how it confused me because I don't the frequency that I'm normally at. I don't sickness doesn't show up, so it was really confusing to me. But when I laid down early that day, I'm shivering, Sharon. I had the most, really for me, the most profound, one of the most profound, because I've had a few of them, profound spiritual experiences I had. I'm in my bed under my cover, shivering, and I'm kind of in between that place. I'm in that theta state in between sleep and wake. And I felt this oneness with the space around me, which is just energy, but I felt it from the sense of abundance. I felt so rich. And that was kind of odd, but I felt like I have millions of, like, I'm here shivering, but I'm feeling like I am totally abundance.
Hmm.
And I recognize, because I recognize that, I recognize later that, okay, that's just me connecting with the field. But there was in my mind, I'm like, there's no way in the world that I'll get out of this bed and I don't look at my bank account and there's millions of dollars in it. Like, it was that serious. And I would maybe get up, maybe use the restroom, get back in the bed, and this went on for hours, literally hours.
Wow.
And it's like
Wow.
something I've never experienced before. Now, what I was doing before that time was I was going through a period where I just felt just full oneness with all that was. Like, I became the field, I became a part of the field. So I was having those kind of experiences before that. And again, being in that experience, I still felt that oneness with the field of energy that is, I call it the ocean of consciousness. I felt that oneness with the ocean of consciousness. And yeah, that's what came up, that I'm just this millionaire, millions of dollars type person. And I don't even think that was my mindset at the time. So I don't know if it speaks to a future or whether it's just me aligning with the energy of abundance, and I just named it that, but it was really powerful and it lasted forever.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
it was
awesome.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I've had those types of experiences where I'm shivering, and it didn't start out where I had any kind of flu symptoms, but I'm just feeling that the energy running through me, and I'm shivering, shivering, shivering. And Christine calls it a purging. Yeah, that's a good word for it, Christine. Thank you. Yeah,
yeah. That's a
where
good word. Yeah, I
yeah,
agree, Christine.
totally.
Yeah,
Yeah, and the light is so intense that it is a purging, definitely. And
hmm
I guess
hmm
what what you're talking about, James, is it does lift you into another. I think maybe it lifts you into another timeline. And the
yeah.
more we the
Yeah,
more
there was
we
no, yeah,
purge,
that was also my thought through the process as well. Like, there's no way I was in the same timeline in experiencing
yeah,
that. Yeah, good point to make on that. I definitely was in another timeline.
yeah.
Yeah, experiencing a
The
different
more we
version.
purge, the more we align with the $1 million bank account timeline.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
exactly. Right, exactly. And that's yeah, right, right. But I was like, there's no way in the world that I become fully conscious from this experience and I don't have all this freaking money that I didn't have before. But you are absolutely right. I shifted to a different timeline. Yeah, I need to
Maybe
I
you
need
just
to
felt like it,
connect
but
with that version again at some point.
everything else is abundant.
Right.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, we're entering the golden era, the golden age.
Yeah,
We're moving into the
yeah,
golden age. So, yeah, so it would feel like we've got $1 million in in the bank.
yeah,
We
yeah,
got
yeah. I, absolutely.
right.
Just full on abundance and wealth. But that
Hmm.
was, but looking back on that, I can go, oh, it wasn't so much that I had the flu or was sick. That was an ascension symptom. that was,
Right.
yeah, shaking some
Thank
things
you.
up. Yeah, it was shaking some
Hmm.
things up. So,
Yeah.
or purging, as Christine says. Yeah,
Purging. Perfect. Yeah.
yeah,
So, if anyone wants to share any ascension symptoms that they've had that we haven't mentioned, that would be
yeah.
cool.
Please do.
Um, yeah. So we talked a little bit about how to navigate through these times, um, and I think it's really important for people who maybe don't recognize what ascension symptoms might be to understand that when when they're going through some really difficult times or
Mhm,
anything like that,
mhm.
something going on with them, like a dark night of the soul.
Right, right, right.
I think
Yeah,
that's part of the deal, unfortunately,
yeah,
or
yeah.
fortunately, it's
Christine
part
said
of the
it's,
deal.
yeah. I think my worst
My
ones were
worst ones
dizziness.
were dizziness and dry heaves.
Yeah,
Oh, I've had dry heaves. Yeah.
yeah.
I did have the dizziness one time where I couldn't focus my eyes.
Wow, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I had to call in for work when I used to work for a company. I had to call in one time because I couldn't focus my eyes. Yeah, dry heaves. Oh, that's awful. Hmm.
yeah, yeah. And you know what? I think the way we've been talking about it so far, it's we've kind of kept it exclusive to what I'm experiencing as the self. But Ascension Symptoms expands beyond that to a relationship breakup, to a job loss. Those are not just
Perfect.
happenstance. Those are part of the ascension
Right.
symptom. Those are you now vibrating at a frequency that no longer matches that job, that no longer matches that relationship or that life experience. We don't often put the label of ascension symptoms on those, but that's the same thing. Your body not only recalibrates, but your life recalibrates to a new frequency, and it's disruptive, or it's what we label as disruptive, and again chaotic at times. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's pretty much inevitable that relationships are going to change
yeah,
as people work on their spiritual progress. It's almost a given that relationships are going to some are going to go away. But you're going to gain more people in your circle too. And it doesn't mean that they're gone forever because we know each other on the other side.
right.
Yeah, nobody is gone. Yeah.
And it's possible that, my ascension, the catalyst for it was a relationship breakup, and it so befuddled me, because I was meditating during that time. I was doing breath work during that time. I'm like, I'm in this high frequency, not realizing that was that, being in that higher frequency, that was what caused that separation. But there's also the awareness that, especially if you have this energetic connection with someone, there's something called quantum entanglement, where no matter what distance there is between two energetic fields, or energetic particles or whatever, that one can influence the other. So even though we may vibrate beyond our job experience, our relationship experience, or our life experience, we are at the same time, as we ascend, affecting that person, place, or thing as well. So it's that, and really that can be an experience where you may come across them again, or I like to think of it like this: you shift to a parallel reality where this higher frequency version of you, boom, meets a higher frequency version of them. It's not the them that
Mm,
you separated from. This is the them on this, in this reality, and this is a higher frequency version of them. So you just never know how any of this plays out. So it's always best to just kind of focus on yourself, but with the knowing that I am affecting everything, especially if I'm energetically connected. And really, I'm energetically connected to everything. But the more connected I am to certain people, places, and things, I am affecting them as I ascend as well.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. And people who are working on their spiritual progress, and I'm sure you work with people too who have are in a
Mhm.
relationship and their partner is not in, in line with them wanting to work on their spiritual progress,
Right.
that kind of thing. They're opening up and they want to learn more and do more
Yeah.
on the spiritual
Yeah.
path, and their partner isn't down with it.
Yeah.
and and so they it can be tough, but I've always gotten from guidance that like you said, they have to still do their own thing, and their partner will will reap the benefit of what they're
Yeah.
doing. Now and there'll be a time when they can rise up too,
Sure.
or they will resist, and then they're might go their own way, that kind
Yeah.
of thing. They
Yeah.
end up, going different directions, but there will be a time when they can rise up in some way too.
Yeah.
And
Great
yeah,
point. Yeah,
so
I love that point because it takes us back to the, are you going to surrender to the shift that's taking place? Because even as I'm affecting the people, places, and things that maybe I'm strongly energetic connected to, they can still resist and again remain in the old earth. So yeah, there's that. I mean, maybe that determines whether you do meet a higher version of them, whether they themselves surrender or whether they just continue to resist what's taking place. So, good point.
yeah, yeah, and we all are ascended.
Yeah, yeah,
At our higher self
sure,
is we all have a higher
sure,
self. We're all ascended.
right, right,
We just decided to drop down in frequency to experience this illusion down here, this frequency.
right.
And so now we're like, okay, well, we've been here for the thousands of years that we've been
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
thousands and how many yugas. And I really love the Hindu version of the ages, how they describe the ages. And so we're like, okay, we're ready for this cycle to end.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. I wonder as I consider shit, whether we agreed, as souls to come, and obviously this is our purpose to help assist in the ascension. Maybe that was our plan as souls to come and assist, and, from a higher self perspective, to come and assist with
Mhm.
the ascension. And I can, when I ponder that, I can picture being excited, like, oh, this is gonna be so good. This is gonna be so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I've
So
had I've had a couple of images of that too, or memories of kind of. I remember one where it was kind of funny, where I'm a young star being, galactic being, whatever you want to call it. This bigger
yeah,
version of myself,
yeah,
and I'm young. I'm young,
yeah,
and I have my galactic parents, and Earth is calling, Gaia is calling, Terra, Gaia, and saying, "Oh, I need some help down here. I need,"
yeah, yeah.
and I'm like, "Oh, I want to go. I want to go." And they're like, "I don't know. You're young. I don't know. If you're up for
All
that.
right.
That's a pretty tough place down there. You don't
Yeah,
have a lot of
yeah.
experience with those really low dimensions." I'm like, "I know what I'm doing. I can do it. Okay." And they're like, "Are you sure?" "Yes, I can do it. All right. I know what I'm doing."
Yeah. Oh man, it takes a special soul. I can remember as a soul having that level of rebellious and arrogance as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, trust me. Yeah, I've had two images, and mine was seeing this very opulent house, and we're seeing this rundown house, and being telepathically asked to choose what path I want to take. And I'm like, give me this one. Like, this is the one I want. I can just with the understanding I can overcome it. I can, and so when I think about from the perspective of James, the life I've had, look, once I finally realized this, I was like, man, why did I choose? Why did I choose? But
Where's the opulent house?
right. I was like, man, I had that opportunity to choose.
I don't know. You might have an opulent house. I don't know. So like,
Yeah, who knows? I just know I chose,
right.
and it's so funny because when I look at my personality through my ages, like that's me. Like I can't swim, but I went snorkeling. You know, I'm scared of heights, but jumped out of airplanes. So it's like, give me the hard thing, and I can overcome
Oh
it.
yeah.
Yeah,
I agree.
that was my arrogance as a soul, but yeah,
Same here.
yeah,
Arrogant. There you go.
yeah.
Arrogant. Yeah. Because I didn't know what I was doing
No,
when I landed here.
right,
Whenever it was, I'm like,
right.
what was it? I can't. I think every person that I talk to on this planet says, "What was I thinking?"
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Every person that starts waking up
yeah.
when we realize
That part.
we made that choice to be here, what was I thinking? So when I woke up, I'm
What was
like,
I thinking?
what was I thinking?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you let me do this. Okay.
Right, that part. Because I know there was a "Are you sure?" in there somewhere that we missed.
Are you
And we
sure?
probably, yeah, and we probably was like,
Yeah.
let me at it. Let me, yeah.
Let me at it.
So,
Yeah. Hey, I know what I'm doing. I remember saying that. I know what I'm doing. I know.
we'll know next
Leave
time.
me alone. I know what I'm doing. Like a 2-year-old, you know?
Right,
Like,
exactly. Exactly. That is too funny.
yeah, you're trying to hold a 2-year-old, 2 or 3-year-old's hand, and they're like, "Leave me alone. I know what I'm
Yeah,
doing,"
right. Like, yeah,
kind of thing.
I can just remember my daughter always thought that she knew what was best. And I had to kind of steer her always in the right direction. But like I would feed her, and she felt like she can feed herself, food flying everywhere. I'm like, baby girl, let me do this. So yeah, yeah,
So yeah, I imagine people watching that might sound a little familiar to them,
yeah,
right?
yeah. From a soul level, for
Some of us
sure.
have to do things our way,
Yeah,
the hard way,
the hard way.
the hard-headed way.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So
Well, since I got run over by a trailer, I guess I did prove that I'm pretty hard-headed.
yeah, you chose an interesting experience. You because I'm sure that if that came up, and I'm sure that did come up, and you agreed to that, and so yeah, that just
I agreed
shows.
to it. Yeah,
Yeah,
I did agree to it, but I did see, and I write about this in my book too, that I had a similar experience in China where I was run over by a cart and my neck was broken.
yeah.
So, but I didn't survive that one.
Wow, wow,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. So it was. I survived this one, thank goodness. So
Yeah, yeah.
because I, yeah. He's like, you don't have enough time to keep doing this over and over.
I know that's right.
Yeah,
I know that's right.
this is your last chance.
Yeah, yeah.
Totally. Okay, so how to navigate? Do we talk about how to navigate, and then we'll talk about the future?
Leah says she's
Yeah,
ready.
Leah, I'm right
Yeah,
there with you
yeah.
too.
High five to you, Leah.
Right, Leah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you bring up a good question of how to navigate it, and for aside from just surrendering to it, once you know that what I'm experiencing mentally, emotionally, or physically, or even in this life experience is related to my ascension, my higher, maybe, beginning to vibrate at a higher frequency. It doesn't make it easier, but there's more, I think, more peace with it. Because I know as I was going through difficulties, it was, yeah, I wish it wasn't happening. Like it wasn't my desired um, experience, but there was still a sense of this is a part of it. This is just a part of it, James. We just move through this. So for me, navigating is understanding that it's a part of it. It's not going to make it easier. The more you can get out of your mind and get into your heart, that's a great way to begin to navigate it. But it's going to have what we call like challenges. It's going to be challenging. Yeah,
Yeah, I agree. It is challenging because we've been lazy
yeah, yeah, yeah,
as humanity. We've been
yeah.
lazy, so
And
you
nothing
know,
can prepare us for this. Nothing can prepare us for this.
mhm,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, we've had a lot of prophecies telling us that this was, that it's been coming,
yep,
and uh, so so it's here, and we do have to prepare for it, and that's what we're doing
right.
now. Yeah, and I wanted to create the background for this, and I did that for the thumbnail, the DNA
Mhm.
strands, because I think that that is really important too, because we are. And James, I wish you would speak to this as well.
Mhm.
I would love it if you would.
Sure.
That we're um, lighting up our DNA strands. I mean, activating more strands, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Which is tremendous because there's so much information in our DNA um, that's related to our history and a history that before now, really not even before now, because the shift has been slowly happening. It's just gaining more momentum now. But of an old earth of fear and survival, that's really to some degree what our DNA has been coded for. Fear and survival says we activate more DNA in this space of ascension. Now we're activating more love and bliss. We're activating more oneness. We're activating more understanding. We're not activating um, the old strands of fear and survival, or we're overriding those with the new strands that we're activating. And again, because we are in this space of the ascension, even for those who are parents, they're now passing a new experience down to their children that's going to be rooted in love and light. And so yeah, activating these new, and I think I'm not sure what the percentage is, but there's such a large percent of our DNA that hasn't been activated. So now to
Yeah,
experience being
yeah.
activated and being wired for this new experience, um, it's a glorious time.
It is, and I think there's 12 strands that we were originally coded with.
Hmm.
Is 12 strands that were active within us,
Hmm.
and I believe that these strands are not new, but have been dumbed down,
Sure,
I guess you could say.
sure.
Yeah, and scientists have called them junk DNA.
Yep, yep.
Um, yeah, because they don't want us to remember who we really
Right.
are, and so as we bring in more light and we connect to, this is how I understand it, and we connect to who we really are and remember who we really are, our true selves, which is love and light,
Yeah,
and have compassion and don't get caught up in the old matrix, and we create the new matrix, which is compassion and all the higher frequency parts of us, who we are as humanity. Then we light up those strands, and we're able to activate those more and more. And we, like you said, hand those down to our
yeah,
legacy, to
yeah,
our kids,
yeah.
and so on and so on. And then they're just
That's it.
naturally, ooh, and I got goosebumps,
That's it.
naturally activated in our generations after generation. And then the golden age is born,
Yep.
and there's no veil between the realms
Yep.
anymore. There's no veil between the afterlife and this life,
Yeah.
and people don't die. We
Right.
don't have death. Not that we have death now,
Right.
we don't.
Right.
But but the body is fully, the physical vehicle is fully activated as who we are as a human. When I'm feeling it as a powerful and divine human being, how we were created in the very beginning, like we are an Anunnaki,
Yep.
so to
Yep.
speak, that divine light filled ascended ascended
Yeah.
being. So yeah, whew, man, I'm feeling
That's it.
it.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah,
So it's yes.
and I understand that Anki, who is the geneticist who helped create this human here, has handed over the blueprint for our original DNA to the we're getting into extraterrestrials here now, but they're still human just like us, to the Federation. And so we can slowly be mapped as well into who we our original blueprint.
Right. Right. Right.
That is very, very cool.
Absolutely. 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 So it's a beautiful times. Beautiful
So
time.
yeah, isn't it? So that's what I see as the future is moving, there's no more sickness like we see like we see all over the place, like we see all the
Yeah,
time. The
and people are going to live much
yeah.
much longer. Back
Hmm.
to the biblical times of it's going to just expand more and more. But 120, 200, 300, however far into the generations they go, people are going to be
Right.
living to 900 years again and be vibrant and be running marathons probably.
Yes.
So yeah, and that's a
Yes.
result of now this light body being the more our physical body calibrating to the light body, which never gets tired, which never grows old, and that's going to be the expression of this physical body.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because we won't be capped off anymore
Yep.
because we were capped off at 120 years.
Yep.
And so,
Yeah.
yeah, and programmed to believe that we get sick and that we grow old
Yeah.
and that kind of thing. And that's our mindset. So, and of course, environment doesn't help any. Poisoned environment doesn't help any. But yeah, so it's really exciting, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I just think being being older and more mature, it's really going to be for those who come behind us to really be able to bask in it. Like we get to see, like we're almost Moses seeing the promised land. We're leading them there and we're seeing it, but they get to have a daughter who's 11, one who's 21. Um, they get to bask in it. It gets to be their normal. While we're like, oh, this is so amazing. It's this this is just what we do.
Yeah,
People love Daddy. What?
I know,
So
right? They're like,
yeah,
what's the deal? I always have $1 million in the bank, and
right,
always
exactly.
walk
Like
down golden streets. The streets have been
right,
always been golden.
right, exactly, exactly,
What are you
exactly.
talking about?
So
Sickness or yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's kind of like how we like I remember my daughter, she had to confirm this with her mother. I told her that once upon a time people had to get up and turn the TV. No, they didn't. I'm sweetie, yes, they did. I said one upon a time they Hey mommy, did we have to people have to turn the TV channel of the TV? Yes, sweetie. So that's how it's gonna be looked
Yeah.
at. Like like it's
Or
gonna be
I know we had
disbelief.
dial phones.
Right.
Heaven forbid dial phones. What is that? I don't think kids know how to use them. I saw a video once where a grandfather was showing his teenage sons, okay, here, try to call somebody on that. They're
Yeah.
like,
What are we supposed to do with
what?
this?
I don't know what to do with that.
Right. So that's how they're gonna
Yeah.
look at our age of sickness and like sickness. People got sick. Yes. People get
Hmm.
stop playing. I'm like, no. Fortunately, we have YouTube, so they can go on YouTube and check it out. But yeah,
I know, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, totally. All right. Well, I know you got to run, James.
yeah,
Thank you for being here. And hey, Stephanie, good to see you.
yes,
Yeah, we're gonna wrap up. No, it's recorded, so you can watch it.
yeah, yeah. Good stuff,
Yeah,
Stephanie. Good stuff, and definitely catch the replay.
yeah, totally. So thanks everyone, and hope you enjoyed this. And we'll be back. We're gonna talk about this, until we're all ascended.
That's it.
Well, I don't. That's another thing I wanted to ask you. There's really no end to ascension, is
There
there?
isn't. There isn't until
Yeah.
we become because, and I know we are scheduled to have another conversation at another time in a month or so.
Yeah.
But really, there's just this ocean of consciousness, and we are like waves um, that are expressions of this ocean. At some point, it all merges back into the ocean, and it's just one seamless experience of consciousness. So yeah,
Right.
we're gonna keep ascending until we become one with consciousness. Because really, the whole purpose of this is to continue to evolve, continue to expand, and that culminates for me, as I believe, that culminates in us once again being a part of that whole ocean of consciousness, um, just being one with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I yeah, I think it's important that people know that ascension is not a place.
No.
It's a process.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
process. And we're always on it, no matter where we
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
We're always on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're always on that. Even ascended masters, they're still on their progress.
Yeah. I mean, the very fact that we are here is the evidence that we're still ascending, right? Because
Yes.
once if there was a stop point, we would no longer be here. So
We'd be one with
exactly,
source.
exactly, exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
right. And that's the goal,
Yeah,
to be one with source, and then we go out and do whatever we want to do
that's
again.
it. Do it all over again. That's it. So,
Start over.
yeah,
All right. Well, thank you, James, for being here.
my
It was
pleasure.
a pleasure as always. And James we're going to do another show
Yeah,
on my other podcast, which will be up here. So look out for my email when we have that on.
yeah,
And next Thursday, I'm going to be talking with Carissa, and she's a channeler. And yeah, that'll be fun.
yeah.
She's going to
Good
talk about
stuff.
her journey to channeling.
Good stuff.
And thank you, everyone. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and
And share. Absolutely. Thank you. Great video.
good.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, everyone.